Andhra Rishika. I will now tell you one of the greatest parable that I know of. A parable is different from a story. Stories can have one or two interpretations, and it is written to provide you with some perceptions and feelings. But parables are often created to make the receiver reflect, think, and develop new original understandings about entities, things, and phenomena, life and self, and one's own existence. This parable, which I am going to tell you, is about the magic of the mind. It's about the way the wonderful magic of the mind can be a block, can be a problem also. So the parable is like this. It is actually taken from the great perspective called Zen in Japan. Two masters of that Zen tradition. One was a senior master and one a junior master, a senior monk and a junior monk. They were traveling together in a horse cart to a certain distant monastery. So the first day of their travel, they were discussing the happenings in the monasteries, the way of managing monasteries, the way of administering monasteries, about their traditions and various things. So they reached a place for rest and stayed there. That means what? The journey was a longer journey. On that night, there was a huge torrential rain. Next day morning, the rain had subsided. Again they started the journey. On the way, there were several muddy patches of water because of the sudden torrential rain. In one such a little longer patch of muddy water on the road, settled on the road, they saw a beautiful young woman standing there, wondering or hesitating to cross that patch of the water, because there was no sides proper to cross the patch of water. And the Japanese ladies, they wear a dress called kimono, which touches, almost covers their feet even. You know that?
Yeah.
So as the cart reached the spot, the senior monk told the cart driver, the horseman, to stop the cart. And then he looked at the girl and something they talked, and then he hand lifted her and seated her near him. And the cart crossed the patch of water, and when it finished, he the same way lifted her and placed her on the ground. And the journey continued. Now there was a kind of a silence inside the cart, what we call an eerie silence, a difficult silence. It's not a silence of normal kind. And the senior monk, being senior, he also did not talk anything. The junior monk also did not talk anything. And the journey continued. And by evening they reached the next place of rest. Just before their food, finally, the junior monk, apparently not able to contain the suspense anymore, he asked the senior monk, "Oh, great master, you are the head of the largest, most respected monastery, Zen monastery of the land. And according to the traditions of the monastery and ways of living of a monk, we are not even supposed to think about a woman, about women. But you carried her there in the cart. I don't understand that. I can't believe it." Then the senior monk smiled at him and said, "Yes, I carried her, but I dropped her there. But are you still carrying her?" That is all the parable. So a moment of our feeling and experience might happen in our daily life and work and activities of living. And that will go. But our minds duplicate that image and keep it inside and go on looking at it and create further descriptions, explanations and interpretations. That's I told you, it's a magic of the mind. It is good if great things, great cases, great instances, great individuals, great events and great entities and things and phenomena are similarly duplicated in the mind and reflected upon that, we can develop great knowledge and understanding. That's how all creative works of fiction, of poetry, of painting, or even inventions and discoveries happened because of that. Okay? The falling of a stone or a fruit, that event was duplicated in the mind of Isaac Newton, Sir Isaac Newton. He kept on looking at it, reflecting upon that, by which he developed a lot of questions in the mind, which finally ended up in developing the foundations of science, the principles of gravitation force. Keeping in mind or duplicating in mind the way a young girl was standing alone in a Highland valley, the poetic mind of William Wordsworth created a masterpiece, a 14-line poem called Solitary Reaper. So, that's the magic of the mind. But unfortunately, the great majority of people keep or carry girls of contention, girls of dispute, girls of negative experiences, and keep on reflecting and go on interpreting that and develop hatred and anger and aggression, animosity and hostility to somebody, or they go on feeling depressed and sad and frustrated and feeling miserable and suffering in life. So one has to master the mind. It is very difficult because mind is something original. When you were born, the engines of the mind were there already. So mind has that power. You cannot throw away your mind. Right? So most people, of course, manage their mind. Otherwise, they will be in trouble. But wherever possible, they will manage the mind in such a way as to protect its many duplicated carrying of negative girls. So they find a pleasure in carrying that negative girls because their original minds are happy in working on something. The same way it is happy about working on something good, it feels sort of happy in working on something bad also. So people feel good in feeling depressed and sad, angry and hostile. You know? So remember this parable. Don't carry the negative girls. Carry beautiful, brilliant, elegant, magnificent, magical, sublime girls of experience. Okay? All the best to you, Manza Rishia. Yes, you know this parable. And I also know this parable. But when a strong negative incident of a girl happens to enter in the cart of our mind, there's a strong tendency to carry that girl, that latest girl, stronger girl. Okay. So we have to forcibly throw away that girl and of problem and carry the girl of this parable. That's what I said. The mind will not sort of allow you to do that. Because the mind is feeling more working when it is working on a negative thing. Understood? There is not much to work on a positive thing. Something good is good, you enjoy and finish it. But the negative will go on pestering you. Because that was a negative. It already happened. You cannot go back in time and repair that negative. See? Whereas the good has no problem. Good is good and it is over. That's why you have to master your mind to throw away the negative girls from out of the cart of your thinking. So that's why you have to develop your power of thinking. You have to develop the engines of your intellect. That's the only way to master the mind. As in the so-called Bhagavad Gita, they compare the mind with the 5 horses and the chariot. And Arjuna is driving the chariot and Krishna is guiding. So the chariot of the mind of that 5 horses is very powerful. Engines of intellect also is powerful. But the engines of intellect, we have to drive it. But the mind will drive on its own. Because mind is an energy field of dynamics, it is emotional. It has started working even when you were a little infant, even when you were a little child. But the engines of intellect are working very, very mildly. You are never trained to work on developing the engines of intellect. In all your learning and development, you have been duplicating knowledges and activities from the environment. Okay? Engines of the intellect are used only by the so-called creative, original individual to develop new knowledge, to develop ideas about what to do, what not to do, how to do, when to do, where to do, and all that. So, when you are growing as of now, all these knowledges are available to you. So you duplicate that knowledge. Therefore, you don't have to drive your engines of intellect. But to manage your mind, you have to develop the power of your engines of intellect. Otherwise, your mind will defeat you. Understood? Yes.